Hello. Today we'll be speaking about, first of all, let me welcome you to the Co-Redemptrix TV channel. We'll be speaking about the Immaculate Conception, Mary, woman of the Apocalypse. God first created the holy angels. He created the angels and thereafter decided to confirm them. He allowed them to be tried in order that they may be confirmed. He informed them of his plan to create human beings who will be of inferior nature to them, with mortal bodies, unlike the angels that have their holy spirits. And then he made known to them his plan, that his son, the Word will become flesh, will become a human being. And despite the fact that he will be a human being, but because his son, all the holy angels will be subject to him. The highest angel in heaven was not happy with this, and that was Lucifer. He complained. God went further and informed them that the Word will have a mother. That this woman, whom God will later dwell in her, will have a dignity higher than that of the angels. The angels were also to be subject to her. At this point, Lucifer could no longer bear it. He cried out, telling the Most High God that unjust are these thy decrees. That great injury is done to my greatness, to his greatness. And not only are they to be subject to the God-man, that they are now to suffer the humiliation of being subject to the woman. Many of the angels joined him. This rebellion began to develop, but some others were silent. So Michael the archangel, in order to wake up the indecision of the silent angels, cried out, "Who is like God?" And that's how he got his name. That's the meaning of Michael. These undecided angels sided with Michael. Lucifer went further to boast to God. He told him that this woman whom you love so much, I will seek her and I will destroy her. And God replied with Genesis 3:15 that the woman whom you hope to destroy is the one who will crush your head. And if through you death and sin enters into the world, through her salvation and life will enter into the world. And a great war started. That's what St. John captures in Apocalypse chapter 12 verse 7. Say, and there was a great war in heaven. Michael fought against he and his demons, he and his angels fought against Lucifer, and Lucifer and his own angels fought back, and they were cast out. At verse 8 he said they were cast down to the earth. And as they were cast out, they fell down to the earth. When God created Adam, he made Adam directly by his spoken words. He called Adam from the earth. He made him from the earth. And then from the body of Adam, he took a rib and formed the woman. God did not inform Lucifer the exact time that the mother of the God-man will come. And so Lucifer, when he saw the woman, he felt that this must be, when he saw Eve, this must be the woman that will be the mother of the God-man. Indeed, many mystics who have seen Eve before they fall tell us that resemble. Blessed Virgin Mary say they both resemble in appearance, in beauty, and all that. Just like Adam, before the fall, actually, if you've seen a picture of the Sacred Heart, the one that has the heart with bright light emanating from it. After Adam was created, Blessed Catherine Mary reported that certain amount of light, as if it were fire, emanated from his mouth. When he speaks, it carried power. And that the heart shone with great light. And there was an invisible, mysterious highway, a route from Adam's heart to heaven, through which many a times God would come down to the Garden of Eden to look at them. From the place where God removed a rib to make Eve, he filled it back. Mary said, he filled it with something, with a mysterious something. The Jews called that thing the holy thing, or the mysterious blessing, or the precious gem. It was the gem of holy multiplication. Human beings were to reproduce in a non-sexual manner. That was the original plan of God. So God filled that portion of Adam with this blessing, the blessing of the holy multiplication. And so Satan saw this, the serpent of Genesis chapter 3, and decided to deal with them as he had boasted before he fell from heaven. And he went to the woman in the sure hope that certainly the woman is not the God-man. And then they began to tell him, God really saying you should not eat of this fruit. If you eat it, this and that will happen. And then before you know it, the woman got caught in that temptation. Before this time, Blessed Catherine Mary said he noticed a difference between Adam and Eve. While Adam was recollected, silent, and meditating, Eve admired more her surroundings. She was absorbed with the beauty of nature, the things she saw around her. And it was this aspect that the evil one catched on. And before you knew it, she longed for, and the serpent plucked the forbidden fruit and gave her to eat. Having fallen, she now moved to the husband and also gave the husband the forbidden fruit. And after this, they discovered they were naked. The nakedness is connected to the nature of this fruit. And thereafter, it was as if light has been taken away from them. Before Adam would fall, God saw he was about to fall. He moved immediately and withdrew the blessing of holy multiplication, the mysterious gem, the holy thing. Because had he fallen with it, according to Catherine marriage, if he had fallen with this blessing, then the redemption of the human race would have been impossible, just like that of the fallen angels. So it was as if light, in Nigeria we say NEPA took light. And then they began to go down. They began to go down. God asked some questions. Where are you, Adam? Say, I'm naked. He said, who told you you were naked? Have you been eating of the fruit? And so on. And he pronounced curses. Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 says, I put enmity between you and the woman, between her seed and your seed. She shall crush your head, and you shall lie in wait for her heel. The descent started. They started falling down from paradise. Before they knew it, paradise was up there, somewhere near the sun from their view. They had dropped on earth. And where exactly on earth did they land? It was at the Garden of Gethsemane. And that was why Jesus had to begin his passion by sweating blood at the Garden of Gethsemane. He knew that this was the place where our first parents landed here on earth. For the first time, this couple realized their misery. They now had to walk in order to feed. They needed to sweat, Where they came for food was free. Adam was allowed to bring a couple of things, including the olive tree, wheat, things that will later be used to prepare the bread and wine of the Holy Mass. He was allowed to bring, including the olive tree, the wood from which the cross will later be made, where Jesus will be crucified. He was allowed to bring all these things. Later, God sent angels to restore this blessing to Adam. When you read Genesis 18, you see the angels visit Adam. No, not Adam, Abraham, sorry. They visited Abraham and then is kind of installed the blessing in him. For preservation, he couldn't use it. It was tangible, it was touchable, it was like a cloud.
Hold on a second.
And it entered into the body of Adam. Entered into his right side. And he was told how to transmit it before his death to his first son, which he did. He transmitted it to Isaac. And then from Isaac, we know the story between Isaac, Esau and Jacob. It was a blessing meant for the firstborn. But Rebecca, as St. Louis Mother de Montfort says, being a type of Mary, understood that Esau did not have what it took to receive that blessing. Indeed, he sold his own for a pot of porridge. And by some circumstance, Jacob received the blessing. Although this was later withdrawn from him when he wrestled with an angel. The angel taught him by the thigh, and the blessing went back to heaven. And he cried out, I will not leave you except you bless me. The angel blessed him. According to Catholic marriage, it was a different blessing, that of patience and perseverance, because he was to suffer many things from this time on. Keep in mind that when God withdrew the blessing from Adam before the fall, this blessing was taken back to heaven. It was formed in God's mind into a virgin. She said, I saw Mary in eternity, not Mary in time. The Immaculate Conception actually first took place in God's mind in heaven. Now,
$100.
the angel will do the blessing at the time of the wrestling between Jacob and the angel. This blessing was later returned back to this earth, to the person of Joseph, when the Israelites have gotten into Egypt. Already Jacob had been informed that the blessing will be restored back when Israel becomes a nation. So, when Joseph had proved his chastity in Potiphar's house, after the night when Potiphar went to Pharaoh's court, and Potiphar's wife came to tempt Joseph, the secretary Mary said she came with a transparent clothing. But Joseph rejected her offer, and because of that, he was framed, falsely accused, and put in prison. At the time of Joseph's greatest trial in prison and suffering, that was when the angel returned back the blessing that was withdrawn from Jacob, and they planted it inside Joseph. Indeed, Joseph was the last person to receive it and die with it on his body without further transmission. It was on the eve of the departure of the children of Israel that Moses was informed of this mysterious blessing, the blessing that Adam lost, and the need to carry it along. And he made inquiries. He was told it was lying in the cave where Joseph was buried. On approaching the cave, Nile water has blocked the entrance.
Hold on a second.
Moses wrote the name of Yahweh on a piece of papyrus and dropped in the water gave way. And he entered and took possession of the holy thing. This was about 70 years after the death of Joseph. He took possession of the mystery. And then they took the skeleton of Joseph as well. And then they started the journey to the promised land. Many trials took place on the way. Many a times Moses would lift up the blessing whenever he saw some of the children of Israel almost falling into idolatry. This continued this way. By the time he made the Ark of the Covenant, instructed by God, Moses, he put this blessing there. It was cloudy, it can expand, it can contract. Through this blessing, God spoke to the children of Israel. This blessing displayed itself in the form of a pillar of cloud by daytime to guide the Israelites, and a pillar of fire in the night to guide them as well. Very interesting to note that the Sea of the Precious Blood devotion was told by Jesus that my mother is the pillar of cloud that will guide you people during the days of the Antichrist. Very, very interesting, and it aligns with the narrative we are giving here. By the time the temple was built in Jerusalem, the holy thing remained in the Ark of the Covenant. And then the ancestors of Our Lady, like Saint Emerantia, Saint Anne,
$100.
at the time Joachim got married to Saint Anne, he was waiting, hoping to be the father of the promised virgin. Virgin who will crush the head of the ancient serpent. The virgin whom St. John described in Revelation 12 as a woman clothed with the sun, and who does battle with the huge red dragon. Eventually, this blessing, St. Anne and St. Joachim had childbearing difficulties. According to Ketnemeri, they had a first child known as Mary, but that was not the promised child. And thereafter, Joachim lost his potency. Anne herself became sterile. They were never healed again till they died. Indeed, the conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary was non-sexual and took place in accordance with God's original plan when He gave the blessing of holy multiplication to Adam. Almost 20 years after the birth of Mary, who married Cleophas, you heard about her in the Bible, Mary of Cleophas. Almost 20 years after that time, St. Anne and St. Joachim were instructed by the priests.
$100.
They went to the temple, and then they, under the golden gate, they approached each other and embraced. Under the golden gate, the moment of their embrace, the angel took the blessing from the Ark of the Covenant and placed in their midst. Instantly, during this embrace, it disappeared into St. Anne. According to Blessed Catherine Emmerich, she said, I was told that at this moment, the Immaculate Conception has been accomplished. I was also told that this is how every human being would have been conceived, if not for the fall of Adam and Eve. The holy thing, the mysterious blessing, the precious gem of holy multiplication, from which, according to the ancient Israelites, the salvation of the human race will eventually come. The holy thing which Jewish historians like Josephus referenced, they called it the holy thing, the heavenly mysteries, the holy thing, had now reached its final destination. And that is that Mary eternity, now in time. When Jesus was born, when he grew and started preaching, some of the pious Jews questioned him that we hear that the holy thing, the mysterious blessing that was in the Ark of the Covenant is now missing. What is the problem?
Hold on a second.
In prudence, he responded and told them that if the holy thing can no longer be found, it means that the Messiah is already among you. He refrained from telling them whom the Messiah was. The only person he told this was a pious Jew known as Eliud. Eliud was one of the few who gave support to the Holy Family during their trying times in the days of Herod. So Eliud called him in one day and asked him, what about the holy thing? What about the Messiah? For how long must we wait? And Jesus told him in confidence that he that is speaking to you now is the Messiah. He was filled with awe and reverence. And he asked him, what have delayed thee? Why have you taken so much time to come? He was told that the sins of many of those who were ancestors to St. Joachim and Anne delayed the coming of the Messiah, delayed the coming of the promised virgin, because there was a need for them to now spend many years making reparation. This then is the Immaculate Conception. When the Pope declared it as a dogma in 1854, Pope Pius IX, he said that by a singular privilege of the Almighty God, that the Blessed Virgin Mary was exempted, was preserved from sin through the merits of her Savior, the anticipated merits of her Savior, Jesus Christ, through his passion and death. And that's why she's called the All-Holy, the living monstrance, as the Eastern churches, Eastern Catholics call her, the Panagia, the total pukra, the all-beautiful. When a lady was singing the Magnificat, you could see radiating within her that strength, that cry of having been the one who was immaculately conceived, the only virgin who escaped the flood of original sin. Let us conclude by reading out this message to you, and keep in mind that this is only part 1 of this talk of the Immaculate Conception, Mary Woman of the Apocalypse. This one was given in 2002 on the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception to the precious blood seal. The title is The Mysteries of the Consecrated Hands of the Priests and the Immaculate Womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary. In my prayer during this hour, I saw in a vision of Saint Cecilia, who came down with 7 little cherubim. She had a rose flower in her hand, and she came closer and said, "Little friend of God, happy feast of the Immaculate Conception. Mother sent me to you and the whole world the message on the mystery of the Immaculate Womb in relation to the gift of the priesthood. I am happy to be sent for this lesson. Little friend of God, I am happy to tell you that there is a great joy in heaven among the angels, saints, and all the glory of God for the feast of the Immaculate Conception of their Queen. Even on earth, there is happiness in the hearts of the just ones. Only the children of the beast are in great rage over this favor to humanity. Oh, it pleases God to choose a daughter among the daughters of Zion to be the mother of God. What humility is this, that my God is now my son, and the son of man, and the daughter of man is now the daughter of God. Listen, O friend of God, as Eve was chosen and formed in an immaculate state from Adam, Mary, my queen, received from Jesus Christ, her son and her God, the state of her immaculate conception. Like the Ark of Noah, Mary is the only virgin that escaped the universal deluge. Oh, like the thorn bush which Moses saw during the burning but not consumed, Mary was the only one that escaped the original sin. Like the rod of Aaron, which when laid in the ark, budded and blossomed without taking root, Mary was the only virgin conceived without sin. Oh, like the fleece of Gideon, which remained dry, while the ground all around it became moist with dew, Mary was the only daughter born immaculate. Mary is perfect, beautiful, and without original sin. Friend of the living God, think of the purity of the womb that will hold your God for 9 months. The womb of Mary was the chosen place, honored by the Spirit. The womb is the wonderful palace in which the Son of God chose to dwell for 9 months. This womb is the throne that is worthy to receive God for humanity. Friend of the living God, do you know anything in the world which you see always that is worthy and in an immaculate state as the womb of Mary, which can receive God for humanity as the womb of Mary did? I answered, the temple of God. The saint continued, oh, you have tried. But that is the hands of the priest. By that, I mean the hands of the priests. As the womb of the Queen of Heaven and Earth is created immaculate from the beginning, in the same way the hands of the priest of God are created immaculate from the day of ordination. This is so because everything that comes in contact with God must be pure and immaculate. As the vessel in which the Son of God formed his flesh and blood is immaculate, the hands that conceive God on the altar must be immaculate. No other hands can conceive God on the altar, since there is no other womb that conceives God except Mary. On the altar of God, the priest gives birth to God for humanity, as Mary gave birth to God in the manger at Bethlehem. Blessed be the hands that conceive God, that gives birth to God. Blessed be the hands that conceive God, that give birth to God, that gives God to humanity. Blessed be the hands of the priests. Friends of the living God, this is the dignity of the consecrated hands of the priests of Christ. This is why the voice of heaven cries in anguish and grief, saying, it is a desecration of the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist to allow non-consecrated hands to administer the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. Only the hands of my priest have been consecrated to do this, no other hands. Friends of the living God, Jesus says, I have made the truth known to you. Your will is your will. No one can take it away from you. Friends of the living God, I pray that you change so as to escape God's judgment over this matter of desecration. I'm your daughter Cecilia. I'm praying that you will change the world. I pray for you for the grace of the Immaculate Conception. So I leave you immediately the vision passed. Dear reader, before we finish, just round up briefly, I just want to make a quick remark on the rod of Aaron. The rod of Aaron was a dry stick. It was a dry stick which was used by God to work miracles. Whenever a chosen daughter was about to be married, a daughter that would contribute to the lineage of the Messiah, that stick was used to pray for the person. Let's say 3 suitors come for that particular maiden. The high priest will use the dry stick, touch while praying on each of them. The chosen person, when the dry stick touches the person, it brings out fresh leaves. It sprouts fresh leaves immediately without taking root in the ground. And that's why the message was saying, like the rod of Aaron that brought fresh leaves without taking root in the ground. It was symbolical of the Immaculate Conception that will be conceived without sin, without the normal sexual thing that we have come to know. Now, that same rod was used when St. Anne wanted to get married. About 6 men, 6 suitors came. And then the dry stick was used to pray for the 6 of them. And eventually, it was St. Joachim that, on him, the dry stick brought fresh leaves. The message warns us, it tells us clearly that there is a connection between Our Lady giving birth to the God-man and the priest consecrating the sacred host and the precious wine to become the sacred body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ at the altar in every holy sacrifice of the Mass. And it says that the hands that gives birth to God must be immaculate. In this case, the priest, whose hand is made pure on the day of his ordination, when the bishop puts chrism oil on his index fingers. This is why it's also very lamentable today. You see seminarians, reverend sisters, people who are not yet ordained, going into the tabernacle to carry the Holy of Holies, forgetting what happened in the Old Testament. You read Numbers chapter 18, where God commanded that those who do such things, who enter the Holy of Holies or touch the sacred object, should be put to death. They forget the sense of the saint. Discussing this, celebrating the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception, keep in mind that this is the best masterpiece of God's creation. A book on the warning from beyond. The demons who have been exorcised in Switzerland said she is greater. They don't call her name. They just say she. She is greater than the angels and the saints put together. I will implore you to watch out for the second part of this talk. The Immaculate Conception, Mary Woman of the Apocalypse, so that you can have a holistic picture of the Immaculate Conception. Happy feast.